Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. Now, the CRPG genre is, or I should say was, a fairly popular one back in the early to mid 2000s, with games like the Baldur's Gate series, Icewind Dale, Neverwinter Nights. However, over the past decade, CRPGs have fallen mostly off the map until the resurgence was attempted by Obsidian Entertainment and Paradox Interactive with Pillars of Eternity. A fantastic title that, while certainly not flawless, was a damn good game and did much to bring people back to the CRPG genre. Receiving critical acclaim and nearly universal praise, Obsidian and Paradox showed that they still had the chops to make a good game with an engaging story. But can lightning strike twice? Well, let's find out as we take a look at Tyranny.
For over 400 years, the armies of Kyros the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will. Now Kyros' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands.
Tyranny is a CRPG that takes a slightly different tack than what you would typically see in a game of this genre. Now, in this, your main character is a Fatebinder, an instrument and dispenser of justice for the Archon of Justice, Tunon the Adjudicator, who is one of the generals of the Overlord Kyros. Now, Fatebinders act very much as judge, jury, and executioner in the world of Tyranny, kind of like this world's form of Judge Dredd. And as one of these Fatebinders, the game starts you off going through what it calls the Conquest, which is how you help to direct Kyros' forces in their taking of and subsequent subjugation of the tiers. Now, this conquest segment is essentially choice A or choice B, but within those simple choices, you set the path of how the conquest went, and this develops your character's backstory and their narrative within the game. Now, these choices are referenced heavily throughout the first act and generally through the course of the entire game, and opens up a lot of different dialogue options and even changes which companions are able to get in some instances. Now, after the opening tutorial segment, the game puts you on the task of delivering an Edict of Kyros, a magical proclamation of intense power, the likes of which can't be compared to anything else in the world. Now, that edict is for the Archons, which are the Overlord's generals, and they are all beings of immense power, to finish the conquering of Vendrian's Well. An attack that has been ongoing for years, apparently, and has been languishing for far too long in the Overlord's eyes, as the Archons' infighting and bickering has brought the invasion to a standstill.
Or it's the work of your perfidious Earthshakers. Only a fool would not suspect a traitorous Archon of poisoning the mind of his students with sedition. We would have killed the Earthshakers Guild for their master's treachery, but I'm sure you have some perfectly valid reason for allowing them to live as your pawns.
Hey, watch yourself. When these two get going, you don't want to get between them.
Now, to go into specifics too much in a lot of areas of this game is to actually do it a little bit of a disservice. And I know that I'm forcing myself to leave out a fair amount of talking points and things to discuss here by doing that, but this is due to the fact that the game has a lot of choice built into it, and it really leverages player option and player input into the story. Now, based on your playstyle and the type of character you have, each has their own options or dialogue choices, even whether you wish to be a brutal dictator or if you choose to take a more benevolent tack. All of these are valid options within the game, and it's this largesse of choice that makes games like this so unique to play in my eyes. They truly let you customize your experience to the mentality you wish your character to exhibit. Cold and calculating? No problem. You can choose a more imperious method based on the dialogue options. A more studious and wizened approach? Take the lore-based options. More aggressive? They've got you covered there too, and each of these choices that you make carries forward and has real impact in the world around you and in future dialogue with the characters within the game. Now, the gameplay itself is very much CRPG in nature. Top-down, possible gameplay with ability-style combat, of which there is a ton of in the game. At times, it almost actually feels like there was a little too much combat, and there were several sections where I actually had to get up, put the game on pause, and leave and walk around in the middle of combat because it just felt like it would never end, and it was just fight after fight after fight after fight with not really anything in between. And to be honest, the combat itself is fairly cookie cutter for most CRPGs, and Tyranny doesn't really do much to innovate on the combat itself. However, it does innovate on a few interesting things. Firstly, we have the magical spells within the game. Now, all of the spells can be modified and upgraded, just like you can with weapons, based upon what sigils you choose to incorporate into those spells. Now, these, of course, increase the required lore, which is your attribute for the character to be able to cast. So for mages, increasing your lore skill is absolutely crucial. And we also have the reputation system. Now, a lot of games of this type have reputation systems. We've seen this with Knights of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and things of that nature, where a lot of the NPCs will react based upon their loyalty, fear, or hatred of you. And all of these are viable stats within this game. And it also introduces bonuses to your character and to your party based upon these levels of loyalty or even fear. Now, I haven't really seen any real downsides to any of these, but they are present. And so building up the stats for a lot of these can be beneficial to you throughout the game and make things a little bit easier. And we also have in addition to that, we also have the towers themselves, which is the main focus for your character in the game and the basis of your power. These are ancient edifices of tremendous power that you end up unlocking, starting with the tower at Vendrian's Well itself. Numbering 5 in all, you unlock these towers to be able to expand your power and abilities, leading up to even being able to cast your own edict, a feat that has never before been performed by anyone other than the Overlord.
Clearly, the rigors of war have made you simple. The people of this realm can barely feed themselves, much less grow their culture in any... There is no point to this line of speculation. The tiers will be consumed by the vaulted north, and What you propose is incredible, impossible! I am the general of the disfavored legion. I bent the knee once before, humbled myself to Kyros. I cannot do so again.
So the core mechanics are very much CRPG, which basically means very little out of the box. One of that is the graphics, and they are certainly nothing to write home about. And in addition to that, the first 2/3 of the game, they are fantastic. I'll say that flat out. Amazingly well paced, interesting, and extremely engaging. Now after that, though, the game starts to lose steam a little bit. Now this trend continued for me, as I didn't even get to the last 2 spires until the final 15 minutes of the game, which really gave me very little time to interact with their capabilities as a whole. In actuality, the ending was sort of a letdown as well, giving every indication that the fight would continue after you either reined in or killed the last Archon in the tiers. It just sort of ended. Although, that's not to say that the game isn't a good playable experience. Now, I clocked in around, I believe, 27 hours on my first playthrough, and the game is designed by its very nature to promote multiple playthroughs, taking different dialogue choices, finding hidden weapons and magical items that you might have missed the last time through, which would provide, for those interested in multiple playthroughs and trying different play styles, at minimum 50 to 60 hours of content, which is huge compared to a lot of single-player experiences that have been released in late 2016. So, as I said, the core campaign is flawed, at least towards the end, and I did experience 4 separate game crashes, so there seems to be either some form of memory leak or other issue with the game. Now, these crashes were, just so you know, unrepeatable and only occurred after extended play sessions, so about 5, 6, or more hours in without stopping. That's where the game ended up crashing on me, that's a little bit of extensive to be able to sit down and play for that long of a period of time in one go. Also, the graphics of the game are very basic, and the game's use of art panels as overlays for the narrative-based moments are a little too nostalgic for me, and I feel that actual animated or CG cutscenes would serve the game that much better. Also, the voice acting, while decently well done, isn't prevalent throughout the game, leaving long sections that were text only. Now, while they've obviously learned from the wall of text problem that was prevalent in Pillars of Eternity, I feel that having a fully voice-acted game would make for a more enriching experience. That said, the final score for Tyranny is a solid 8 out of 10. It's a great game that, despite some of its flaws, I still had a blast playing, and while I did choose the more benevolent tack on my first playthrough, I will definitely be going through and indulging my dark side. And for any of you that are fans of CRPGs, then this game is well worth your time and your money. Obsidian and Paradox prove that they not only can they learn from previous mistakes, they can take a lot of aspects that you've seen in other CRPGs, like the loyalty-based system and a lot of those type of things, and take their own spin on them and make them interesting. And so they do have a little bit of innovation, and they've proven that they can learn and grow. They've also shown that they can still churn out a damn good game. But next time, I do hope they don't lose steam towards the end like they did here. But laying that aside, the game was still intriguing as it was engaging. But don't take my word for it. Go buy it, see for yourself. You won't regret it. And while you're buying into things, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down at the bottom. It's the only way my channel will grow. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I am SidAlpha, and I will see you next time. Hi there, boys and girls. Thanks for checking my video out. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe even that subscribe button. Trust me, it works really good. Don't forget to share with your friends, and if you're interested in following me on Twitter and Facebook, the links for that are in the description down below. I also have a Patreon if you're interested in helping to support the growth of my channel, and the link for that is down below as well. And once again, thanks for watching and supporting my channel, guys. I really appreciate it.